Hey guys, KangaskIt18 here, and I am very much looking forward to the brand new Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield, which are gonna be released just a couple of weeks from now. Over the past 8 months, Game Freak has revealed many features of these new games, from Pokemon Camp to the Curry Dex to the expansive Wild area. But there's one feature that I'm not really a fan of. I've gone on record saying how much I dislike the new Dynamax feature of these games, where a Pokemon grows larger and gets more powerful moves. To me, this seems like some odd combination of both Mega Evolution and Z moves, while simultaneously being somehow worse than either one. But Game Freak didn't just stop at Dynamax. Certain Pokemon not only grow large and unleash powerful moves, but also significantly change their appearance. In my opinion, many of these Gigantamax forms seem like they simply could have been rejected designs for Mega Evolutions that later were co-opted for Pokemon Sword and Shield. And Mega Evolutions are interesting because several of them have unique shinies that look nothing like those of its normal forms. So therefore, I pose a question. Can Gigantamax Pokemon be shiny? And if so, what will these shinies look like? Since any Pokemon in these games can Dynamax, it seems like shiny Pokemon can therefore turn into a Shiny Dynamax form. But Gigantamax is different. According to several different news outlets, only a couple of Pokemon can attain these new Gigantamax forms, and those Pokemon either have to be captured as part of a cooperative max raid, or they have to be given to the player as part of an event. Both of these options give Game Freak the ability to shiny lock these Pokemon. Certainly, Pokemon that are attained as part of an in-game event have been shiny locked in the past several generations, like the Snorlium Z Munchlax from Pokemon Sun and Moon, or the Speed Boost Torchic from Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. So some of the new Gigantamax Pokemon could be shiny locked in that manner, and it'd therefore make sense that Game Freak could shiny lock max raids to prevent trainers from attaining some of these uber powerful Pokemon in a more unique form. It would almost make sense, really. Game Freak wouldn't have to create all these new color combinations for all of those extravagant looking models. Personally, I think that this is the route that Game Freak will take in an effort to prevent some of the extra work that would come with shiny Gigantamax forms. But what if they didn't do that? What if they allowed max raid and event Pokemon to be shiny? And what if they allowed these Pokemon to Gigantamax? What exactly would that look like? That's what we're going to explore today. Now, we know that some of the all-new Pokemon from Generation 8, like Corviknight and Alchemy, have the ability to Gigantamax. But since we have no way of knowing what these shinies will look like, it's very difficult to therefore predict their shiny Gigantamax forms. However, Game Freak has revealed that several older Pokemon, whose shinies we do know, can also Gigantamax, and thus we're going to be using that as a starting point to speculate on what some of these new Gigantamax shinies could look like. So let's get started with what is, in my opinion, one of the lesser Gigantamax forms. It's Gigantamax Meowth, which goes from being a cat to being a longer cat. Whatever, at least it has the ability to make me more money in these games. So how would this Pokemon look if it were shiny? Well, we could obviously give it the same shiny that regular Meowth has. So in this case, everything pretty much stays the same, except that the tips of the feet and the tip of the tail turn a dark pink color, which is fine, but I've always found Meowth to have one of the lamer shinies in the game. And honestly, I don't think that a Gigantamax Meowth would deviate from this all too much. But perhaps we could make it look a little more unique by changing the glowing color of the eyes to a more neon green, like the color that a cat's eyes get when they reflect in the night. It's alright, but honestly, as Gigantamax Meowth is going to be exclusively an early in-game event, I think that this is going to be one of the least likely to have a shiny out of all the Gigantamax Pokemon. So let's go and take a look at something that's a little more likely. Game Freak also revealed that if you have save data from Pokemon Let's Go Eevee on your system, you can receive a special Eevee in Sword and Shield that will turn into, well, basically still Eevee, just significantly larger. And like before, there's an extremely obvious option for how Gigantamax Eevee Shiny could look. Just turn it into Eevee's normal shiny colors, in this case pale overall. And while this does look good, I also think it's a little on the boring side and certainly not very creative. So instead, I'm gonna suggest something that I've been suggesting for many of the new forms that appear in Pokemon Sword and Shield. Why not turn it into the colors that shiny Eevee had back in the days of Gold and Silver? In those early days, many shiny Pokemon had significantly different colors compared to how they look now, and Eevee is no different, turning a much darker gray with dark colored eyes. And I think this looks awesome, similar enough to its current shiny to look familiar, but different enough to be a thing all on its own. We'd be remiss, in my opinion, to let these old shiny colors go to waste, and co-opting them for new forms like Gigantamax seems like an obvious route to take. Moving on, we've got a similar situation. If you've got save data from Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu on your system, you can get a special Pikachu that, when Gigantamax, turns into an old-style fat-sized Pikachu, which honestly I love. When I was a kid, back in the halcyon days of Pokemon Red and Blue, Pikachu looked much different to how it does now. A squat little rat that was more rotund than rodent. But over the years, Pikachu took on various fad diets and eventually lost a ton of weight. But I, for one, have never forgotten Pikachu's portly origins. And speaking of origins, why not take Gigantamax Pikachu Shiny back to the days of Gold and Silver, where it turned more of a reddish-orange color than the shiny that we're used to. I really like these colors for Pikachu, as it's really similar to the current shiny colors, but ramped up to 11. Perhaps we could take a slightly different route though, and it's one that I definitely prefer. Instead, let's go and turn Gigantamax Pikachu a light electric blue color overall, with darker blue for the cheek pouches. Okay, I know this is a total departure from Pikachu's current shiny, but somehow Gigantamax Pikachu just looks more purely electric than the Pikachu that we're used to dealing with. I can imagine Pikachu as a blue spark arcing across the battlefield and dealing some serious damage. While I fear that the Gigantamax Eevee and Pikachu could well be shiny locked in these games, I really hope they're not, simply for the excellent opportunity they present. Moving on, we've got a Pokemon that definitely could have just been a Mega Evolution. It's Gigantamax Butterfree. I love this Gigantamax form, not only because it gives some much needed respect to such an awesome yet forgotten Pokemon, but also because it straight up makes Butterfree look like Mothra from the Godzilla movies. And like some of the previous entries, there's a pretty obvious, yet awesome, option for Gigantamax Butterfree Shiny. Just turn it into the regular shiny Butterfree colors, in this case pink wings and limbs, but with blindingly neon green for the eyes. Normally, shiny Butterfree's wings wouldn't change into such a bright pink color, but for Gigantamax Butterfree, it just seemed right. However, there's another option we could take. Everybody remembers that classic episode of Pokemon that featured a pink Butterfree, and that coloration has never been canonized as a shiny. But I say, let's make it so. Let's keep those pink wings, but instead turn shiny Gigantamax Butterfree deep rose, with light blue limbs and red eyes. I think this looks really cool, and certainly harkens back to a coloration that we haven't seen in a long time. But something seems missing, I think because the pink wings don't necessarily match with the pink body. Instead, let's turn the wings the same light blue color as the antenna, and man does this look good. I've always said that blue and pink is my favorite shiny combination, and this coloration certainly delivers. I'm still not sure if Gigantamax Pokemon will have the ability to be shiny, but for the sake of Gigantamax Butterfree, I surely hope it's the case. And finally, we've got the one Gigantamax Pokemon you've all been waiting for. It's Gigantamax Charizard. I've heard a lot of criticism of this Gigantamax form, with people saying that Charizard's already been given enough love, what with 2 different Mega Evolutions and all. And I get that, and I agree that Game Freak should ease up on the Kanto pandering and show a little more love to Pokemon of other generations. At the same time, it's hard to deny that I think this Gigantamax form looks amazing. Huge and intimidating, like a volcano rising up from the earth. And luckily, I think there's some easy ways to make this shiny look good, namely giving it the same shiny that Charizard's already got. In this case, keep everything the same, but make the orange colors black overall. Yep, this shiny is certifiably badass. And even though we're only changing one color here, I really don't mind. Yes, some people think that shiny Charizard is overrated, but there's a reason that it's almost universally considered to be one of the best shinies of all time. Simply put, it looks good. But if we're willing to go this far, why not take it one step farther? Obviously, we can't get better than turning Charizard a dark color overall, but if it were up to me, I'd also change its flames to be a brilliant blue color, because honestly, there's nothing better than a fire-type Pokemon with blue flames. In addition to this, I would also suggest turning the pattern on Charizard's belly into the same blue color that the flames get, just to complete the look. I know that Game Freak doesn't pay attention to these videos, and will never accept outside input as to the shiny colorations of their Pokemon. And not to toot my own horn, but Game Freak, I'm pretty good at designing shiny colors for these new Pokemon. If you ever have a job opening for a shiny designer, just let me know. Anyway guys, there's a part of me that thinks Gigantamax Pokemon will be shiny locked one way or another. But there's still hope. For example, the Own Tempo Rockruff that was released during the debut of Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon could have that ability bred, and its progeny could be shiny. So perhaps we'll be lucky enough to have Game Freak implement a similar system for Pokemon Sword and Shield. At this point, these games are only a couple of weeks off, and I am eagerly anticipating all the new shiny Pokemon that are certainly soon to come. Thanks for watching guys, and as always, we are gonna see you on the next Shiny.